David Murray is an American jazz saxophonist and composer. I believe he also plays bass clarinet sometimes. He made the mistake of being born too late to have a classic career in jazz in the 50s and 60s. So when he was emerging in the 70s, he was forced into being free jazz. I'm sure he didn't feel like that about it. He's been prolific from the 70s onwards. He's still alive and still going, and he has an impressive discography. He also has a curious crossover connection with the band The Grateful Dead. Hi, my name's Dan. So this is an album of effectively free jazz or something relating to that. And this is my first encounter with this album and, in fact, with David Murray himself. So I often listen to these albums twice when I'm reviewing. I usually listen once in one setting without looking stuff up. So if I don't know anything about the artist or the album, then I get quite a blind listen, and then usually in a different circumstance have another listen after I've done some looking up. And in this occasion, my first listen was yesterday evening. I confess I was not in the best of moods, seeing as my car hadn't started, and I heard this free jazz being played, and my thoughts generally were that it reminded me of the twiddling of toddlers. It was just everybody doing their own thing in their own time and with very little relation to each other. The second lesson was in the car, and you might deduce from that the car got fixed this morning, so I was listening in the car on the way to work, and it may just be that I was in a better mood as a result, but I did get more out of it that time. So there is some structure that I can hear. Generally, it still has the classic jazz structure of play the tune, do some improvisations, then finish off bookend by playing the tune again. Now, when I say tune, most of the time on this album, it is recognisable as something that's intended because the tune players are playing together at the same time. But it's often quite discordant and wandering and weird. So it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever seen videos of spiders that are on various drunks trying to make webs and how distorted they are. It reminded me of a drunken spider version of a tune. And this is kind of, I'm picking up, I'm not an expert on jazz, that this is the way that jazz went, and the tunes became more kind of discordant and experimental in their own rights, and then the improvisation over that becomes, well, in this case, pretty much a free-for-all, except for somebody's taking the focus on this. There is some more structure to some of it. There's a track called The Hill, which has a quiet bit at the start, and then a big loud bit in the middle, and a quiet bit at the end, which kind of reminds me of the idea of a hill that's shallow at the start, big in the middle, and maybe that was the intention. I don't know. And the last track, which is called Dewey's Circle, has more structure to it and is more kind of what I'd think of as normal harmony. This is only kind of relative, you realise, but it also demonstrates the kind of looseness of New Orleans jazz. So I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of the jazz band walking down the street in New Orleans and they're playing tunes, and it's kind of slightly dirgy on the way to the funeral and jolly on the way back from the funeral, but also they have people kind of playing around the tune and little kind of interjections here and there. Well, it's quite like that, except just pushed a little bit further, and I probably would say that was my favourite track of the album. So generally, having had my second listen, I would say that I mildly enjoyed it. What do you think? At this point, I always ask, and I don't get a huge number of comments, so I'd love to hear from you, particularly. Yes, you're watching. Please give me a comment in the comments box below, and that's it from me for now.